Hey, welcome back to my channel Endless Pages. I'm Liv and welcome to today's video, which is my reading wrap up for the month of April. The first thing I read in April was actually a play, and that is A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. I think that's how you pronounce his name, a Norwegian playwright. It's from like 1870 something. Don't know the exact date. Yeah, this is about like a married couple in the 19th century, I think it's set. The reason I picked this one up is because in high school, maybe year 10, year 11, we went on an excursion to go see a play, and this is the play we saw. And it's just, yeah, it's really stuck with me all these years later. And don't quote me on this, but I don't believe we actually read the play. I think it was just an excuse for an excursion for drama. So yes, I believe this is my first time actually reading the source material, but yeah, the play, obviously it's stuck with me all these years later, and I really wanted to go and just read the play, relive it, because, you know, it's been a while since I saw it. So this play is like 3 acts, and it all takes place in like one location, the couple's home. So the couple is Nora and Torvald, and they have like 3 kids, I can't remember exactly how many, and it starts on Christmas Eve. And this is a very kind of feminist kind of play, which is incredible for the time that it was written in. And I was reading a little bit about the history in the book, and it was, you know, not very received well by a lot of the critics who were males, obviously, at the time. So yeah, quite I guess, what's the word? Forward for its time, and quite a bit of a feminist vibe for the time it was written by a male playwright. So we love that. This is basically a play about marriage and traditional gender roles within a marriage, within like a heterosexual nuclear kind of family setting. The real reason I'm so drawn to this play and why I think I really like it is just, it's so clever. And Nora, who is our protagonist, she is the housewife, and she is portrayed and spoken to like a child. Like she's kind of seen as having these childlike qualities in how she speaks and acts. And what I think is really clever is how her husband speaks to her, and the nicknames he has for her. They show how he belittles her and, yeah, speaks to her like she's basically a child. Like, he constantly refers to her as my songbird, my little bird, my little sparrow, like all of those kind of things. Yeah, he seems to portray her as this silly woman who's only always thinking about money and how much money she can spend, and childish and so lost without him. The husband also belittles her by kind of always talking down about the sweet things she likes to eat and making her feel bad for getting a sweet, or making a comment on that, obviously making a comment on her weight or appearance, not wanting her to gain weight. So there's just, the whole play is so cleverly done with the little digs, and, you know, obviously they're not little when you add them all together, and you see how often belittling language is used to talk about Nora straight to her face and how she's described. I can't really give you more plot than that other than really spoiling it, but it is basically about Nora gaining her own voice and own opinion within the marriage, because, yeah, everyone is speaking for her, and she's being a good, dutiful wife and holding her mouth, ignoring all the digs that are taken on her. She is so 100% loyal to her husband and making her husband happy, and hiding things that she knows will upset her husband. So the whole book is, what way can I make him happy? What way can I hide the things that I know he doesn't want to see? So even though she's portrayed as childish or spoken to like she's a child, you can see in this play Nora is not at all childish. If you dig deeper and find out what she's actually done, and the kind of way she knows her beauty, and almost her like a little bit of manipulation, it gives you the depth that she is not just how everyone refers to her as, like a little fragile bird. I love the ending to this play. It is so well done. I kind of want to read you quotes, but I don't want to spoil for you guys if you ever want to read it. But like, Nora's dialogue on the last couple of the pages of this book is amazing. And yeah, she finally not drops the act, but she comes to a realization, kind of her world is shattered, and she finally speaks for herself, and it is so beautiful, so moving. I know I haven't described this well, but it is so well done. This play is amazing. I gave it 5 stars. All these years later, it's made an impact on me so much that I wanted to read it, and I'm so glad that I did. Yeah, if you're looking for a little feministy play, A Doll's House, I would highly recommend it. Next up, I read Chainsaw Man Volume 1. This is by Tezuki Fujimoto. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. This is basically about a boy and his dog, and he's kind of drowning in a mountain of debt, and he does anything to get money, which is including hunting devils, and then he is betrayed. Now he has like the power of a devil inside him. So if I just think about the plot alone, it was a really interesting start to a manga, and I felt that it was really beautiful and sad, his relationship with his dog and how that all went. I thought there was a particular moment, if you've read this you know, that was absolutely beautiful, and I thought it was really sweet. But then it took a turn. I found there's a female character in this who kind of like becomes, I don't know how you would say it, like his handler. And his infatuation with her is so creepy. I know that this is a thing that happens in manga, the betrayal of women. He mentions like boobs a lot, and the first time I laughed, I was like, okay. But then it wasn't funny because every couple of pages he would be thinking about her boobs, thinking about a woman's boobs. Oh my god, I want to touch them, I want to look at them, blah blah blah. And it was just endless, and it was so off-putting. So much that I only rated this 3 stars because it was so off-putting. It wasn't like 1 or 2 throwaway. It was like constant. That was all he was thinking about. And it's so unnecessary. Like if that had been taken out, I probably would have rated this like 4 stars because I thought it was a good start to a manga. So if anyone's read this in the comments, does this get better? Should I stick it out? Because I do want to check out the anime, because the anime looks awesome. But if this boob thing is going to be a continuous thing throughout the series, I'm not interested. I don't want to spend money on that. So anyone in the comments, please let me know if I should continue on with this, because I'm really conflicted whether I want to or not. I don't think I'll purchase it. I think if I was to continue on, I would try and find it in a library to see if it's worth continuing on, or whether this boob thing is just this in the first issue, or if it's going to continue on and on, or if I should just watch the anime. If anyone knows, please let me know. So yeah, I rated this 3 stars. Next up, I read 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. This book is about a character called Red and 5 of her friends who are going on a trip in an RV, and it breaks down in the middle of nowhere, and there is someone out there with a gun that is trying to kill them, and it's basically about them trying to survive the night. I felt a little bit let down by this one. I don't know if I had my expectations too high because it was a Holly Jackson book, but yeah, I felt a little bit let down by this. I didn't not enjoy it by like any means. I just felt that it was a bit slow at the start, and like I was a little bit bored at the start. I feel like the ending was really good, and there was that fast-paced kind of ending, but I just didn't feel like this had that fast-paced intensity that I want in a thriller, that should be in a thriller. A big theme of this book is secrets, and everyone's got their little secrets, so I did enjoy how all the secrets came together and all the pieces came in and fit at the end to reveal the identity of, you know, who's trying to kill them and all that. So that I didn't see that coming, and I did enjoy that intensity of like, do we trust everyone in this group? Like everyone has their own secrets. Yeah, so that kind of added to the intensity a little bit with like, I don't know if I trust everyone in this RV right now. So I liked that. But yeah, I wasn't like flying through this book like I was with the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. Like I gave this 3.5 stars, which makes me very, very sad to say, but I just feel like it was missing that intensity, that fast paced. I thought the ending was good, especially how she kind of learnt to deal with a little bit of her trauma, read around her trauma. So I liked that ending for her. But still, it was meh. And I'm so sad to say that this book was meh. Yeah, like the ending, I did get teary and I was crying a little bit. So like it got to me that point. I think that's why it was a 3.5 and not a 3-star. Next up, I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. Yikes. If you didn't know already, this is a prequel to The Hunger Games. We follow President Snow from that series in his youth. His family name is kind of losing its rep. They are quite poor after the war and he is desperate. And he is given an opportunity to be a mentor in the 10th, don't quote me on that, I think it's meant to be the 10th Hunger Games. And he is given the female tribute from District 12. And it's basically kind of a romance, but I'll get into that. Yeah, so that's a basic plot. This book was weird. Am I the only one who was like, this is weird shit? Like, I struggled to get through this. Also, whereas the plot, it's so slow, so boring. I absolutely struggled to get through this. I'm so proud of myself that I read 500 pages of this absolute garbage. Like, there was no plot, nothing happened. It was incredibly irksome, and I just, whoa, to get through this was an achievement in itself, honestly. Yeah, it's weird. I understand that it's set like something like 65 years before the Hunger Games, so obviously the world is going to look different 65 years ago, but I just felt like it was so weird and so disconnected from the Hunger Games. I just kept having to remind myself, like, this is the same world as the Hunger Games trilogy, like, just before it, obviously. So yeah, it was very, very, very weird. And basically this character, Lucy Gray, who is the tribute from District 12, is like a singer. And if I have to read another book with so many song lyrics, like every second she would suddenly burst into song. You had to read pages and pages of her songs, which was getting on my nerves. And it was so weird, and she would just burst out into song and I would find it so weird. I couldn't deal with it. I've got to say there are a couple of positives. The fact that they didn't try and romanticize Snow and make it a cutesy little romance, I can appreciate, because that's what I was worried about. Obviously there is little cutesy romance moments in this, but you know that it's not actually romance. He kind of more sees Lucy Gray, I feel like, as more of a possession, and he's just happy that she likes him because the world sees her and the world's kind of falling in love with her, and he sees her more as a possession than like an equal partner. So I can appreciate they didn't try and romanticize him at all. So, I mean, that's a positive, right? Like, I don't think he's capable of that kind of romantic love. So I appreciate that, because sticking to his actual character. What was the other positive? Oh, it's kind of a positive and a negative. Obviously, because this is the same world, there is references to the Hunger Games, I would say sprinkled, but they're not even sprinkled, like, quite frequent. Cannot speak today. Quite frequently throughout this book. So like a character's name is brought up as like, oh, that's Flower, that's like Katniss Flower, blah blah blah. Those kind of things, which were way too obvious and pulled me out of the story. I was like, oh, we get it, I know it's the Hunger Games, you don't have to remind me that way. So that kind of annoyed me, but at the same time, I'm gonna be a hypocrite and say there was some that worked really well. Like, without spoiling, there was a particular thing that is in the Hunger Games books, and knowing now where that thing originated from, I think if you've read this, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Knowing that it is connected to this story, this original story with him and Lucy Gray, and knowing that he sees it again in the Hunger Games with Katniss, knowing now where it came from just makes it all the much more satisfying that it came from Katniss and he saw it again and it came from the person that was, you know, fighting against his, you know, his rule. So I thought that was really satisfying, and it just, although this book's not good, I can see its worth in it's just adding and strengthening kind of the power and the events that happen in the Hunger Games. So I can appreciate it for that. But basically this book is weird, it's boring, and I hated it. I made it through. I read this whole goddamn book. Never again I'm unhauling this. I gave this 2 stars. I really didn't like it. It was shit. Next up, I read Breathless. This is by Amy McCullough. This was recommended to me by a colleague, and oh my god, yes, I was like, I'm in the mood for a thriller. We were talking about thriller shows that we liked, and we were talking about A Vigil, I think. If you've seen that show, I recommend it. It's amazing. Talking about those claustrophobic kind of thrillers. She's like, oh my god, I just read this book. It's called Breathless. If you're in the mood for that kind of claustrophobic thriller, I recommend this. And holy shit, was she right. Breathless is about a struggling journalist called Cecily, I think that's how you say her name, and she gets this kind of invitation of a lifetime. This really world famous mountaineer, I think that would be the correct term, called Charles, has invited her for kind of an exclusive interview, but the catch is he will only give it to her if she climbs this mountain with him. Basically, she joins this group of people to climb to the top of this very tall mountain together. During their trek, things start to go wrong and there is a murderer on the mountain. So this book is incredible. It is so claustrophobic. We follow our main character, who I really love, Cecily. She's kind of dealing with her own kind of personal stuff, and she is a character that spends a lot of the novel just downplaying herself, being really hard on herself. She has just kind of had a breakup that wasn't the best, and I feel like her partner wasn't the best to her and didn't really encourage her self-worth, and she kind of feels like a failure. There's a certain thing that happened in her past that she can't let go of, and just, yeah. So she goes on this incredibly strenuous emotionally and mental challenge, not starting off at a great point mentally to climb a mountain, because I can assume it takes a lot of mental strength as well to get and, you know, do something like that. So yeah, she doesn't start off the novel in a great place, but I love the growth she has throughout this novel, and the worth she kind of proves to herself, and starts to prove for herself. It is so claustrophobic because she's climbing this mountain, and at night she's hearing these things outside of her tent, and you don't know in the group who to trust. Like, there's a lot of big male personalities and a lot of aggression in the group at some points when alcohol is mixed in. So you spend the novel like second guessing yourself, because I really didn't see that until the end. I was like, one page I was like, oh, that's really sus, it's this person is a murderer for sure. The next page the suspicion was on to someone else completely different. So it really like kept you guessing, and it was really fast paced because I felt like there was always something happening. It was cool multimedia. You got to see her writing bits and pieces and snippets of her article as she was climbing up the mountain. I feel like I was on the edge of my seat this whole book. Like, it wasn't slow and then a crazy ending. I feel like there was so much and enough happening that I was still flying through it even before the big dramatic finish. It's basically this woman who feels like there's someone like trying to hurt her, and like standing outside of her tent on the world's tallest mountain, where at certain points she needs oxygen just to breathe. They get so high that your body literally like shuts down. So it was so scary. There's the added fear of a murderer, and then on top of that, her just trying to survive and not let the mountain kill her. So it's her fighting the elements and the paranoia and the, am I actually just suffering from altitude sickness and that's where the paranoia is coming from, or is there actually someone dangerous on this mountain? So there were so many elements that just made it amazing. And of course the massive dramatic finish at the end was very fun and very terrifying, her getting chased down a mountain by a killer. So that was terrifying, and she got to a point, and put in the altitude sickness, paranoia, and oh my god, it was incredible. I thought this was a really, really well written book. I thought really well written female main character. I loved her growth and her dealing with her past by climbing this mountain, and it was so good. I highly recommend this book to everyone. I absolutely loved it. To finish off the month, I read this, The Five Crowns of Ochereth. I want to say this is the first book in the High Mountain Court trilogy, by A.K. Morford. Is this a series or is it a trilogy? I don't know. This is like a fantasy romance and I had a lot of fun with this one. This one was quite good. This book is basically like kind of an enemies to lovers. It's about Remy. She's a red witch in this world where this ruler of the Northern Court, right? The Northern Court, yes, has pretty much slaughtered most of her people, so she's just staying hidden in taverns and trying to hide the fact that she's a witch. And then the bastard prince of the Eastern Court, I can't remember the names of each, kind of comes to her and asks for her help, and it's about dealing with that. So yeah, this book is really fun. I had a good time. It's kind of enemies to lovers. There was a massive plot twist in this to do with Remy's character that shook me, absolutely had me shook. I was like, what the hell? It happens pretty like not that late in the book as well, so it was really fun to fly through. It was fast paced. It was nice and smutty at some moments, so I appreciated that. I sometimes need a more adult smart book rather than like a little young adult one, so it was fun to read something a little bit smutty and fun. Had that typical fun banter of you know, enemies to lovers banter, which I enjoyed. I kind of had a bit of a found family vibe with the little crew that they were traveling with. Anyone else read this got a found family vibe from this? Is this the most amazingly written book? Probably not. Was it fun fantasy romance? Hell yeah it was. With some cool fight scenes, lots of fun plot twists, bit of a found family vibe, which I always enjoy. I absolutely adored the romance in this book. It was really sweet. The way it kind of, I kind of agree with the ACOTAR like comparisons, because I think one of the reasons I picked this book up was because people were like, if you miss an ACOTAR, if you need something like that, pick up this book. And there was definitely that vibe kind of at the start when they were kind of acting to be in love at the start. That gave me really big ACOTAR vibes. Like there's one scene that just made me think of the scene of Freya and Rhys, I don't know, under the mountain, of them like playing around and acting. There was a similar scene that I was like, oh, that fills the ACOTAR void in my heart. So I enjoyed that fun, but the way they spoke to each other was absolutely adorable. The way they gave each other strength and yeah, lifted each other up was really cute and adorable. I'm really excited to see where this book goes. Like, I don't know where's this going. I'm very intrigued. So I'll definitely be picking up the sequel. I gave this 4 stars. It's not amazingly written, like it's not blow your mind, but if you're looking for a good fantasy romance and if you like ACOTAR, you're probably gonna like this. April was an absolutely fantastic reading month for me. Like I'm so happy with how much I read. I read 6 books, so including the 1 play and the 1 manga, but still like so good for me. Pretty good overall as well. I was worried the ballad was going to put me into a slump, but it didn't. I've well and truly defeated the slump this month. I read so many amazing things. I'm so happy with my reading month. It was so good. I also successfully completed the Magical Readathon this month, which has shocked me incredibly. Like the fact that I have read a book that has fit every prompt absolutely blew my mind. I did deviate a little bit from the original TBR, but I still made it work and I still filled all of the prompts successfully. So I read amazing books and I completed the Magical Readathon for this month. So 10 out of 10 month. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my reading wrap up for the month of April. If you haven't subscribed and would love to see more of me, that would be very much appreciated. Or if you just like to give this video a like, let me know in the comments what was your standout read of April, and have you read anything I read this month? What are your thoughts? As always, all my social media links are in the description below, and I will see you guys in whatever the hell I post next. Bye!